Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we discuss the FP Journe Octa Chronograph Ruthenium Edition. There were 5 different models, each made in 99 pieces, 40 millimeters in platinum, every single one of them, that comprised the Ruthenium collection. The Ruthenium watches, all again, with gold ruthenium-coated dials, 40 millimeter platinum cases, 99-piece editions, and ruthenium-coated brass movements. There was the Octa Chronograph, which you see here, the Jour et Nuit, the Calendrier, the Resonance, and the Tourbillon, and that was the set, 99 pieces of each. So collecting one of each ruthenium watch is a superb pursuit for a collector who has everything or wants everything and can pay for it. So we have this 99-piece limited edition chronograph, 40 millimeters in diameter in platinum. These chronographs were made from approximately 2002 to 2006, and we'll talk about when this one was probably made in a moment. 40 in diameter, 10.5 thick, 48.3 from lug tip to lug tip with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. The Ruthenium series are handsome watches. They are aesthetically pleasing, and they're a good size. The 40 millimeter case is versatile, and on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist it wears well. You can see in profile it's thin with a domed bezel. It will slide under a dress cuff. Here's your over-the-top shot, which inherently exaggerates the width of any watch. This is your down the barrel and definitive angle. So this is going to fit a wrist as small as 14 centimeter circumference. Again, mine's 16 for reference. This watch has an unusual upgrade, which is a FP Journe deployant clasp. Now it's a friction fit clasp. Take a look at the inside. You can see how it has this much warmer tone. This is white gold. And then the buckle portion, the outermost component is made of platinum like the case. Journe uses white gold here because it's a good match for platinum aesthetically, but also because gold is stronger than jewelry grade platinum. And so for mechanical parts like this, it's considered more durable, but also white gold is stronger than yellow or rose. So it specifically is a good match, not just aesthetically, but from a durability standpoint. Taking a look at and this is a very expensive upgrade item. To go from a pin buckle to a deployant at Journe, you're talking 4 figures out of pocket to make this happen. A really nice upgrade. Taking a look at the case, you can see that we've got the very similar aesthetic to the one that first bowed on the original eponymous FP Journe watches, the Tourbillon, in 1999. So we've got a domed bezel with a pretty much mirrored case back. So domed case back, domed bezel. Each one has a flange. The flange define the mid-case, so under the flange we have integrated Calatrava-style lugs that turn down 90 degrees from the sweep of the case band. Journe's knurled unbranded crown is now a bit of a signature, so you can see in profile that we've got 3 of them now. The double dimple knurled crown at center, characteristic of Journe's work since the beginning. A classicist, he realizes that historically great watchmakers didn't brand crowns, so he doesn't brand his, but you know who made it. In fact, if you look at it, it appears to me that the crowns on these watches are always a little bit warmer in color than the platinum. I've long wondered whether these crowns are actually white gold, and I think there's a good possibility they are. Taking a look at the dial, okay, it is ruthenium coated, but it's made of gold. And then we have this silver-white silver section, so the silver cut and then galvanized to create a silver-white aesthetic, but these registers are silver proper. And then we've got the distinctive Journe hands and a chronograph. So here is a 60-minute chronograph register, feature I wish we'd see more often on chronographs. The watch does feature a chronograph module that Journe has added to his Octa automatic base, and it is a miracle of miniaturization. The chronograph module is only 1 millimeter thick. It also includes flyback capabilities, so you can reset and restart without first stopping. So if you're timing events that occur in rapid succession, the flyback is ideal for that. We also have, let's just make sure we're not in the date change danger zone. No, we were. So you see, that's why we always roll past and make sure. But we have a double-digit date, ruthenium colored, and you can see they're flush discs. And flush discs are always a sign of a superior big date. Sometimes they're staggered. That's an older and kind of anachronistic way of doing it. Flush discs are harder to do and thus more prized by collectors. So you can see that the system has a crisp, instantaneous quick-set mechanism. And the column wheel, and it is sort of a column wheel that's used on this movement and its module. It's almost like a flattened column wheel, where instead of having crenellated towers, you have a flat flower with its petals flaring out. It's almost like a hybrid of a cam and a column wheel in terms of how it works. If you can imagine a flower that has been flattened with petals radiating out in every direction, that's how this particular, I guess you could call it a cam wheel, actually works. It makes for very crisp actuation. If you want that characteristic column wheel feel, this is a light touch chronograph, but you do get that crispness. Also important, I believe this is an oscillating pinion, because if it were a vertical clutch, I would be utterly astonished if a vertical clutch could be built into a 1 millimeter thick module. So my thought is Journe probably does what he does with his other chronographs, past and present, and he used an oscillating pinion, which is a very fine type of lateral clutch that has very little play. It is possible he incorporated some sort of vertical clutch here, but if he did, I've seen no evidence of it yet. Turning over, we have a case that indicates this one was probably built towards the beginning of the run. Remember I mentioned these were made from 02 to 06? Well, you can see this case was made in 02. Now the code on the case doesn't necessarily mean that's the year the watch was assembled, but it's usually fairly close. Eleanor, a company out of France, you can see their maker's mark and also the French hallmarks right here, double eagle, and then Eleanor to the left. But Eleanor would make the case, it would then go to Switzerland and be cased up and built as a watch. And so at that point, it would gain the Swiss hallmarks, which are right here. And usually there's a close correspondence between the year the case was made and the year the watch was assembled. You can see this one's individually numbered out of 99. That's how they were all done. The rotor is 22 karat guilloche grand orge, or barleycorn, and then the movement is part of the brass movement era of Journe. So you already realize these watches were made a little bit past the conventional retirement of brass movements at FP Journe. The Ruthenium series and the Zodiac continued to be built with brass movements after the rest of the line had discontinued brass in favor of gold calibers. In general, mid-2004 was the phase-out, but for some of these limited editions, brass lasted a bit longer. So you have that ruthenium coat on the bridges, so it's much darker than rhodium-plated brass. Big balance. What it lacks in beat rate, it's a 3 Hz balance. It makes up for in sheer size and inertia, so it's a very good timekeeper on that basis. You could see it's 5-position adjusted. Journe wanted to achieve chronometer-like timing with his Octa automatic. More on that in a moment, but it's a 5-position adjusted free-sprung balance. Free-sprung means it's very shock resistant, so you can't change the timing with a shock. There's no mobile stud index for that. And then it also allows for very precise adjustment. So 120 hours is the chronometric power reserve here, and Journe decided that even though the watch will actually run for 160 hours, almost 7 days, he resolved to keep the chronometric rating at 5 days, and here's why. Journe has always said that it's impossible for an automatic movement to keep chronometer time, because although during chronometer testing the movement will be worn daily, or I should say wound daily, if it is worn daily, what's going to happen is it's going to find itself in a lot of different states of wind. So whereas a chronometer trial's automatic movement is going to be wound up every day and thus have exceptionally asynchronous operation, an automatic on the wrist is going to be worn, taken off, picked up, put down. It's going to sit and be worn for irregular lengths of time. And so you never really know what state the mainspring is going to be in. So given all those different states of wind and the variability they can cause to forced the escapement and thus timing, he wanted one super long mainspring. So there's one barrel, 1 meter long mainspring, and to avoid the pitfalls of a long power reserve with just one mainspring, he used one that was super slim and calculated to create a torque plateau that stayed more or less flat from maximum wind out to 120 hours elapsed. And so without any kind of differential or fusée or remontoire, he managed to create a more or less constant force to the escapement on an automatic watch, provided it stays within that 120-hour power reserve window. So instead of worrying about the state of wind up and down, you have a lot of consistency here, and for most states of wind, it will keep exactly the same time, isochronous operation, and thus chronometer caliber timing in an automatic movement. And that really is the point right here. It's also a big movement, properly sized for this kind of case. It's 30.8 millimeters with the 1 millimeter extra thickness on the top. Remember, 30.8 is the diameter, 36 joules. And then you can see that it is the first version of the Octa 1300, which means bidirectional automatic winding rather than the later unidirectional, which came on line about mid-2007, and a brass movement rather than the later gold. The finishing is rustic, and you can see even without magnification that's the case on the bevels. But you buy these Journe watches for their innovation and because they pushed the limits in watchmaking, and also because of the profound influence of the maker behind them. The only feature it does not have is hacking, but in almost every other regard, this is a comprehensive statement from an auteur and historic watchmaker. 30 meters water resistant, so don't take it swimming. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.